widely known today as a simple story about a girl, a wolf, a grandma, and a rescue. Well, the story of Little Red Riding Hood has also some peculiar and, dare I say, disturbing origins, like most of the fairy tales I take a look at on this channel. Welcome to Check That Book, a special place on the internet where you and I get acquainted with arguably the most disturbing pieces of literature ever written. And not just literature, I still cannot come up with a proper intro, you guys. Feel free to leave your ideas in the comment section below, because this channel is no longer about literature. On one hand, I'm glad because we expand, but on the other hand, it's, it all started as Check That Book, and it will still remain Check That Book. Because book has also some synonyms in me head, but I digress. We are here today looking at some creepy fairy tale origins. Now, I am highly aware that there is quite a lot of YouTube channels doing that exact same thing, but come on, you know me. Now, before we get into the disturbing aspects of the origins, let's brush up on the original story. Typically, it goes like this. The wolf meets a girl on the road and learns where her grandmother lives. He reaches the house first, kills the grandmother, and cuts up her body. He puts her flesh in the pantry and her blood in a bottle. When the girl arrives, the wolf, disguised as the grandmother, invites her to eat. Of course, the stories vary from culture to country, but the prime idea is, as I just said. Unknowingly, Little Red eats her own grandmother's flesh and drinks her blood. The thing I just told you is the original European folklore, basically. It came from arguably either France or Italy and was passed on verbally from generation to generation, with some minor differences here and there depending on the country and culture at hand. But before Brothers Grimm put it down, it was just as is. If you listen to it, to what I just told you, sounds like just a fucking horror tale. Why would you tell this to your kids? I'm always so astonished. That's one of the reasons I wanted to dig deeper and get involved with disturbing fairy tale origins, because this is insane. But before Brothers Grimm put it down, we had the first written version by Charles Perrault in 1697. Now, his story ends brutally. The wolf eats the grandmother, then he eats Little Red Riding Hood to boot. The end. No rescue. Nothing's happening. It's the same horror story. Now, Perrault even included a moral warning that makes the meaning actually rather explicit. He warns young girls about quote-unquote wolves who appear charming but are actually dangerous men. Young ladies who listen to strangers may find themselves eaten by wolves. Now, in other words, it was originally a cautionary tale about sexual predators. That's the way I view it, at least, and yeah, it does make sense. Moving onward with Brothers Grimm. The version most people know today comes from Brothers Grimm in their book Grimm's Fairy Tales. They softened the story slightly, but it was still dark as fuck. Key elements, of course, cannibalism, deception, dissection of a living being, and all of the kid-friendly stuff we know and love. Of course, the wolf eats Little Red as well. The hunter arrives, cuts open the wolf's stomach, and both victims come out alive, so it kind of has this happy ending. In some grim editions, they even fill the wolf's emptied belly with heavy stones so that when the wolf comes to and tries to run away, he can't. The wolf collapses and dies from the weight of said stones. Kid-friendly, yeah, much. Well, you see, here's my issue with this one. I always viewed Little Red Riding Hood's story as, yeah, sure, it is a cautionary tale, don't talk to strangers, right? But even if you don't, can it still protect you from stalkers? Don't go through the woods to your grandma. Well, if we think about it, now I have a wee bit of a beef here. I have more questions to the mother who sends her child, her only child, her girl child, through the dark woods to her grandma's place. Mom, are you fine in the head? Everything else, understandable. I've been fascinated by the story because of the lycanthropian roots that I felt there. Werewolf legends, that's what I mean. So, some folklorists actually connect this particular fairy tale to some European fears passed on from generations regarding werewolves and all that sort of stuff. Kind of like the vampire thing, but we're gonna get to it someday. I am still thinking about doing a proper video on Bram Stoker's Dracula, so if you're interested, let me know. In medieval times, the wolf itself symbolized predators, of course, both human and animal, the unknown wilderness, the threat to young girls traveling alone, of course. And if we look deeper into sexology, then yes, it might have symbolized the hidden, tense sexual desire. The red hood on the girl itself may symbolize blood, coming of age / puberty, and, well, entering adulthood. And of course, we can get deeper into psychosexology with this one, but psychosexology? What? Well, you got me. But I'm here to just introduce you to the disturbing origins of the story, and I think it comes without saying that, sure, following strangers' advice and talking to strangers on its own, I mean, teach your children not to do that. Of course, that's how you may avoid lots and lots of potentially extremely problematic situations. But other than that, no. And this sexual context here, that the wolf being a male predator and the little red being, well, just like this, you know, like the red cloth that's been constantly shown to the bull, right? But as much as I've heard, bulls don't actually differentiate color, so it's kind of pointless. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you know anything about this. It's an interesting fun fact. Are they colorblind? Because if they are, then it doesn't make any fucking sense. I digress. The original story of Little Red Riding Hood involved murder, cannibalism, sexual danger, and no happy ending. Only towards the 19th, 20th centuries was the story toned down a great deal and cleaned up for children. But still, the one I read involved the wolf being cut open, you know, and left for dead, because, well, once he's cut open, he died. I have no idea how come the wolf in some older versions managed to come to and try to escape after being literally cut open. Never mind, they are fairy tales. Now that I think of it, and throughout my cycle of disturbing fairy tale origins on this channel, the playlist will be in the description. Please check them out. We have all sorts of fun things like Sleeping Beauty with the sexual assault, right? Cinderella and her issues. We have lots, and thinking about this makes me realize that, yeah, sure, fairy tales at the time were not actually written for children. So coming back to the beginning of this particular video also, where I said that what the fuck was wrong with people, you know, telling fairy tales such as these to their kids, well, they weren't really for children, now that I think of it. They were stories about survival and moral warnings. Mainly to younger generation, sure, but still. You won't be telling this to your toddler. I mean, at least not in the original brutal version. So as a way to teach young people about danger, well done, I suppose. Little Red Riding Hood, to me, is more interesting because of what other media it inspired later. So with that all being said, I thank you all so much for watching. I hope you do not talk to strangers. Sure, sometimes somebody might, need some assistance, asking for directions, for example. Cool, but make sure to tell them, but don't go showing them. Mind your own business and let them mind theirs. Don't follow anyone anywhere, please, especially if you're a young woman. God damn it, this world is evil. So meanwhile, I thank you all so much for watching. If you like unorthodox content, make sure to give this video a boost in the form of an erect thumb and make sure to subscribe for more. Take good care of yourselves and your loved ones, ladies and gentlemen, and I shall see you all as soon as possible. Cheers!